the word slope. Okay? The word slope and what it means to you. But before we get into that, I want to go back to, take you back to 7th grade, all right? So 7th grade, Mr. Meeks or whoever you had taught you about something called unit rate. Actually, let's go back to 6th grade. This is probably 6th grade, isn't it? Ms. McClendon, Mr. Seville, they said, hey guys, here's what unit rate is. It means how much for one. Here's a box of pencils. You can get 12 pencils in this box. And this box costs $2.49. How much for one? So in 6th grade, you learned what a unit rate was, right? And you knew it was how much for one. When you got to 7th grade, Mr. Meek said, hey, remember unit rate? We're going to call it constant of proportionality. Do you remember that? Constant of proportionality. And it was like on a graph, right? So then in 8th grade, we started out by calling it, hey, remember unit rate? Hey, remember constant of proportionality? We called it rate of change. And you know when we saw that? We saw that in like the how much does Emma gets paid for babysitting, right? 0, 10, 1, 18. And then you said the change in the y divided by the change in the x. And that was rate of change. So what I'm doing now is saying we are at our 4th and final stop. And we're done changing names after this. It's been unit rate. It was called constant of proportionality. We called it rate of change. And the final stop is going to be called slope. Okay? And slope is what I want to kind of talk about today. And so in order for us to kind of understand slope, because here's what Unit 4 is. Unit 4 is you getting to know lines inside and out. I'm going to give you a page full of graphs, and they're going to have all kinds of lines on them. And I'm going to ask you to do all kinds of things with, hey, what's the slope? What's the rate of change? What does this line mean? What is if it's going up? What if it's going down? What does it mean? Yes? Yes. And I'm really glad you said that. She said you guys had something like that once for maybe an extra credit point. I know that this is something usually that is supposed to be, it's probably like end of May, beginning of June for the 7th grade advanced curriculum. I'm not sure that was covered in as much as it should have been. I think that there was some issues that we ran into. So Mr. Meeks kind of said, hey, just so you know, you're going to really, really, really want to touch slope with them because we didn't have a lot of time to do this last year. Some of you may recognize this. Raise your hand if you remember MX plus B. Sound familiar? Okay, that's all we're doing for like 7 weeks is getting to know slope-intercept form. Okay, so to get us going on that, let's talk about 4 types of slope. There are only 4 types of slope. And to illustrate that, we're going to take this little man and we're going to talk about hills. Because when you hear the word slope, that's the first word everybody says. Steep, hill. Hill is a slope. Oh, how steep is it? When you go skiing, are you on the Black Diamond Hill or are you on the Bunny Hill? It's steepness, right? So we think about the word hill. We think about steepness. Okay? So what I want you to think about is, let's say we have this guy, and I'm going to put a hill here. And I'm going to ask you, what kind of footwear does this guy need? Does he need skis for this hill? If he's right here, is he going to ski uphill? Doesn't work that way. He needs some hiking boots, right? So this is where your highlighter can come in. If you start at the left and move to the right, from left to right, like you read a book, if you move up, it's called a positive slope. So this is called a positive slope. You read it from left to right, just like you read a book. So if the guy's standing over here and he's going from left to right up, it's a positive slope, right? So if I had this kind of hill, he doesn't need skiing, or he doesn't need hiking boots. They're not going to do him any good. He's just going to roll right down. He needs skis, right? So from left to right, it's not going up. This one is going down. And down on a graph or a coordinate plane means negative. Up from left to right, positive. Down from left to right, negative. Okay? If you forget, can you look up at this little poster right here in my room? See where it has all those dots that says negative correlation? How can you tell if it's negative? You can make an n out of the slope. So if this is a slope right here, here's my n for negative. Okay? If it's going up, I can't, can I? Crosses right over it. So little hints to help you think about that. Okay, so let's say this guy's not hiking. He's not skiing. What's he doing here? What kind of shoes does he need? He needs some tennis shoes or some cross trainers or something because he's going on a walk. He needs a good pair of walking shoes or a good pair of running shoes. Because he's not climbing, it's not going up, he's not skiing, it's not going down. So what number do we use to represent not positive or negative? 0. So what do we call this? From left to right, it's going neither up nor down. So that's going to be called a 0 slope. All right? And if I say, what kind of line is that? Don't say straight. Every line is straight, right? What kind of line is that? There's a special name for it. It's horizontal, right? So go ahead, right next to it, and just put the word horizontal. Okay. So I've covered 3 different kinds of the 4 slopes right now. What's the only other kind of line I haven't included yet? Vertical. So let's do that. This one's a little interesting because if I say, what kind of shoes does this guy need? Well, he needs a parachute, right? Because the first thing right off the bat I ask you to do is say, where's the left? There isn't a left. Okay? So where's the right? There isn't a right. So from left to right, does it go up or down? I don't know because there is no left and there is no right. So right off the bat, you know something's kooky about this line. And when something's kooky in math and we don't have a name for it, we usually use what word? Undefined. And under the word undefined, I want you to write vertical. And we're going to tie all this together later. So really right now, it depends. If this guy's here, he needs a parachute and he's going down. If he's here, he needs some rock climbing gear, some suction cups to work its way up. Yeah.
Is it vertical because you can't climb it?
Yeah. There's not really anything you can do with that. So positive, negative, 0, and undefined. So if I say, how many types of slope are there? 4. Name them. Positive, negative, 0, undefined. Okay? Not no solution. A lot of times people want to say no solution. So undefined. And those are the 4 different kinds of slopes.